The holiday season is just around the corner, but don't worry, I've got you covered with some 5-minute Christmas card ideas.
My first idea is a really easy and fun one, and it's a great way to use up design paper that you've got in your stash. I'm going to be doing some outline stamping or some line art stamping. I've got a beautiful big poinsettia flower here, and basically what I'm going to do is just choose some design paper and stamp the image in black ink. Now, you can do this with many different kinds of images. It doesn't have to be a floral. It could also be like a background stamp, or if you don't have something that you think could work like this, you could actually multi-stamp one image over the panel and create something really pretty that way. It's saving you time because you're not having to color the image in. It's being stamped on a colored background, and by leaving it line art, you get that kind of dramatic look. To speed things up a little more, I used a smaller rectangle die to cut out a panel or a portion of the image rather than use the coordinating die to cut it out. This is going to give the drama to a card and also still show the outline image, make things come together a lot quicker. By adhering your elements directly to a card front, this is going to speed things up immensely. Adding layers and bulking things out is going to slow you down. I also keep a stash of pre-prepared card bases, or I batch them out because I do make my own. And I also have some A2 panels on hand, just of the 80-pound or a lighter weight cardstock, ready to go for support, die cuts, or even just panels for the front of the card. One other thing I do batch out is sentiments, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. This card came together very quickly, so I did have time to pop the sentiment up and also embellish the card a little bit. It's the small details that can really make a difference. I added some really pretty black pearls just to the center of the flower, and I made a few different versions of the same card, but used different colors from the paper pads just so that things were the same but different. And you can see the other versions of these cards at my blog post, which is linked in the description below. So now we're on to the second technique, and this one is ombre stamping a large background. Now this is doing double duty, this stamp, because normally you would stamp it and cut it out with the coordinating die, and it's going to give you multiple sentiments. What I thought I'd do instead was stamp it out and use it as a background, but because it's a sentiment die, I don't need to add a sentiment at all, but I could if I wanted to. Now, I want to use multiple different colors over the stamp, and I probably went the wrong way around here. I started with sort of the darker colors and worked towards the light colors, but the only thing that slowed me down with is I did have to come in and clean my stamp a couple of times when I was heading to the lighter inks so that I didn't contaminate the ink pads. So if I was stamping from lighter to darker, then I wouldn't have had to worry about that step. Using a stamp positioning tool is essential here, especially if you're going to use multiple colors. So that way you can keep restamping the exact same image over and over. I think I had to add the ink twice to most of these layers, but you can add as little or as much as you want. I just wanted it to overlap and blend a little bit. And you might also notice that I'm using a blending tool to help sort of smoosh away the sharper edges of the ink pad on the stamp. I also added some tape to the panel, but I wish I hadn't have. It actually made it worse. And I did a few different versions of this in also another color. And I found by the time I'd done this card a couple of times, it was just easier not to tape the panel down. But if you've got a sticky mat for your MISTI or stamp positioning tool, this would be the perfect time to use it. I just wasn't thinking to grab my grid mat. I really like the artsy feel of mixing the colors together here, and when they blend over each other, it almost creates another color as well, like a separate fifth, fourth color. Having your supplies pre-planned or your color combos pre-planned is going to speed things up. Making multiples of the same thing, it doesn't mean they have to be exactly the same. None of the cards that I made today look exactly the same. In fact, I made a total of 16 cards in this little crafty session, and they're all using these techniques that I'm sharing with you. I thought it was easier to cut this panel down just with the trimmer because the die didn't fit perfectly, like the rectangle die didn't fit perfectly around the sentiments, but it would have looked good had I used a smaller die and just cut the edges off the sentiments a little bit too. That could have worked. And I had spare time on this card as well, so I did manage a small embellishment in the stars. When I'm batching cards out like this, I like to make sure that I have everything ready to go. And I don't just mean have my card bases made. I also make sure my glues are there, that they're topped up. I'll even go to the effort of ripping off some of the low-tack tape and sitting on my desk ready to die cut, because when I need my low-tack tape, I can never find it. So if I do that, I'm not wasting time searching for something. Now, this is another great fun idea to use up some design paper. I'm going to be making some gift boxes. So it's a simple square die, and I've got this glitter cardstock here, which is not actually glitter. It just looks like glitter cardstock. It's very cool. I like it. And it comes in so many different colors, but I thought I'd do something a little bit different. So I've got the lime green and hot pink color combo happening. Now, this big bow is the drama that's going to be added to this card. On the other examples that I made, I did come in and use up some of the scraps. And how I did that was I created a topper for the box, just the little rectangle cut like from a paper trimmer, or you could use a die if you prefer. That is a great way to use up some scraps and create some fun gift box cards. I think this would look really good as a gift tag for Christmas presents as well. Now, this card is a 4 1/4 square card. To make that card base, I just snipped off the end of one of the A2 cards, which made it very quick and easy to do. It does fit in a regular A2 envelope, and that's often a way to keep postage down because some countries will charge you more to post a square envelope. And I worked out on the cards that I made after this that I actually preferred this bow just adhered in the center of the bow, which would have made it much quicker to do. But this particular card didn't take me the 5 minutes either. Although I did use pre-prepared sentiments, what I would recommend is to batch out some sentiments. I've started making multiple sentiments at once, especially some of these sets where you can stamp multiples at once and then die cut them out. And then I'll either leave them in the packet or a little dish ready to go. But I tested it and I batched out one set of sentiments. There was 6 altogether. I stamped them, die cut a second and adhered them all together. It took me less than 5 minutes and I had enough sentiments for 6 cards. It was just easier than having to sit there and kind of negotiate what sentiment I needed for a specific card, which I can spend hours trying to work that out. Making myself do some nice, fast and easy cards like this, great way to use up my design paper and a fun way to challenge myself to stop procrastinating, start making and enjoy the process. And if I use up all my design paper, I'll just have to go and buy some more. And my final idea today is to do some quick colouring. So choose one image and one sentiment. I would recommend choosing one that's from the same set. You can do any style of image or sentiment that you want, but to make it faster, I do like to stamp them both at the same time. So these are going to be very clean and simple cards, and I know that some people struggle to colour quickly, so I've got a couple of tips I'm going to be sharing with you. Now I do leave my stamps in the stamp positioning tool, and you'll see why in a moment, but I'm using 2 different inks here, and that's because I'm going to be colouring with Copic markers. For me, these are the quickest thing that I can colour with, and that's because I know my colours so well. I have a very limited Copic selection. I do have other alcohol markers that I enjoy using just as much, but these are the ones that I've had for a very long time, so I can just grab them and know exactly what the colour is. If you're not sure, make a cheat sheet. That way you can just grab the exact colour you need without having to take all the caps off and test them. I'll also grab all my colours first and have them sitting there ready to go. That way I'm not fishing for colours and looking for them. I will also use a limited colour palette. If I'm trying to be fast at colouring, I don't want to be using multiple colours and doing lots of different shading. One colour that I won't rush when I'm colouring with is a red. Red alcohol markers are very unforgiving if you go outside the line, and it can look messy. So I do take my time when it comes to colouring in the reds. Images also look good stamped on coloured cardstock, like as line art, and then just using colour to focus on a small portion of the image rather than colour the whole thing in. You can also colour with pencils on coloured cardstock, but I do find that pencils take me a lot longer to colour with. I have an example at the blog where I stamped an image and then just used a white gel pen to colour in the baubles from the tree, and I think that looks amazing, and it was really probably one of the fastest image cards I made. And here's my biggest tip when it comes to colouring quickly with Copics, and not do all the shading with all the different greens or all the different reds. Come in with one darker grey colour. I'm using the T4 here, but you can use whatever you've got, and add your shading with just one marker. So I'm using this to add the shading to the Grinch himself, like to the green portion, and to the clothing. It just makes it so much quicker, and it does give you a bit of depth without too much hassle. The other thing I like to do is what I call rough colouring. So what that means is I've just got one green here. I'm colouring the tree, and I'm just roughly colouring in, almost giving it a watercolour look rather than a alcohol marker look. Trying not to overthink it, because that's really hard for me. You know, go outside the lines a little bit, allow yourself the luxury to do that. It's okay. Except if it's the red. Don't do it with the red. Other things you can do to step up these image designs is to add things like white gel pen, dimensional glaze, and also embellishments. Now this took me probably 5 minutes. I think it was 5 minutes and 23 seconds from start to finish. So I did allow myself the luxury of coming back in and restamping the image with the pigment ink, the black pigment ink, because I just really like the way that looks. But other than that, it was really quick and easy to do. Oh, the other thing I like to do is, so say you stamped it, you weren't quite happy with the placement, come in with a rectangle die and cut the image and the sentiment out together, and that way you can kind of straighten up your image, add it direct to the card front, quick and easy. So that's the 4 techniques. Along with this quick colouring idea, we had the outline stamping or the line art version, then we did the ombre background, and we made some gift boxes. Let me know in the comments below if you have a favourite card today, or if you're going to try any of these techniques. Don't forget to head to the blog and see the other versions of these cards. And I've got 2 more videos here for you to enjoy from the Same But Different Christmas series from the last 2 years. I look forward to seeing you there. If you liked today's video, don't forget to click on the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. What are you waiting for? It's totally free. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.